Hello my dear children. So now we are going to learn about the digestion in human beings. Now accordingly, humans are having different biological systems. Human digestive system, human excretion system, human nervous system, like those systems. The systems have been made by combining lots of cells together. A tissue have been performed. Lots of tissues have been performed together as an organ, and lots of organs are combined together as a system. So tada, we are going to learn the human digestion system. And just imagine a person average in this world is eating nearly 1 kilogram of food per day, and that means 365 kilograms of food per year, and it will be very much near to large amount of metric tons when you come up to age of 75. So all these food which we just mentioned, those metric tons, lots of food, they goes with your mouth cavity and going out from our rectum by giving lots of chemical energy to our body. So let's move on. I just wanted to show you about the specific parts in our digestion system. So when a person is eating up, he will be having a proper physical digestion in his mouth cavity like this. So let me explain about the physical food digestion which happens in the mouth cavity. You need to remember that very specifically. In our mouth cavity there are like 3 salivary glands, alright, as well as there's the tongue. That's a really long enough muscle of human digestion system which is helping to convert the food into crack down and then turns up into the bolus by using the salivary which is in the salivary glands. And we got like 4 types of teeth inside our buccal cavity. Buccal cavity means the mouth cavity. So they are canines, incisors, molars and premolars, which are tearing, crushing and mixing the food items into a proper semi-solid structure, and then it will be moving, passes through this specific part. So we are going to learn it in a separate manner, and this is known as the peristaltic movements of the esophagus, where the food will be jumped and popped into our small our stomach. After the stomach digestion occurs, it moves to the small intestine and then to the larger intestine. So let's look at the physical workout in here. Alright, here you could see something very cool in there. In our buccal cavity, the food has been converted into smaller semi-solid structures. Now try to breathe yourself, but in the same moment try to swallow your saliva. Alright, ready? Try to breathe yourself, and in the same time try to swallow your saliva. Okay, 1, 2, 3. It cannot be done. The reason is, here you go, you got this as our esophagus, and this is of course the trachea, starting place of trachea, which is ready-madely connected with our respiratory system. So when we are swallowing, if you are breathing in at the same time, what will happen? Most of your food will be gone, and it will be not stomach filled, it will be lungs will be filled with your stomach, and you could have a fatal death in there. Therefore, there's a small flip of tissue which is helping to cover up the respiratory tract. It's helping to cover up the respiratory tract. Look here, it's helping to cover up the respiratory tract. Like that, alright, like that. Okay, so it's covering the respiratory tract, so the no food will be moving to the respiratory, it will be directly moved to that. This flop of tissue is known as epiglottis. It's known as epiglottis. So right now we just discussed about what just happens in the buccal cavity, and then we just learned the bolus have been generated, and that will be moving to the esophagus, and then it will be protecting our respiratory tract too. That's why your mama is saying, do not talk when you're eating. When you're talking a lot, we use lots of breathing, so epiglottis will be in concussion sometimes. So sometimes food might be gone there, and you will have a problem of that. I think you had it earlier too. So here our esophagus, a kind of a tube which is connecting the buccal cavity with our stomach, kind of a long tube, darling. And when you are drinking some cold or hot water, you feel something is going like that. That's our epiglottis, and it has a movement called peristaltic movements. Here the food bolus will be squeezed by the walls, and that's called the peristaltic movements. Let's see, these are the peristaltic movements. And tada, it will be entering to the stomach from a small parts, and stomach is releasing all the types of juices in there, just as I just showed you. This is the rectum and that's the anus, this end part of our digestive tract. Let's move on to the next part. Alright, so these are the salivary glands that we discussed. That's our liver. This is our pancreas, ladies and gentlemen. And now we are moving to learn about the mouth and the buccal cavity of humans. Now humans, when they are eating, it's a basic diagram, and you could see the food particles are crushed and the salivary will be ejecting to the food particles. The teeth is helping to accommodate and commemorate the things, and the tongue is like crushing the food, ripping the food, tearing and turning them into semi-solid material, which is a kind of a bolus structure. And you could see then the action of saliva happens on the stomach. For that, I would love to tell you to do a certain experiment. Take a piece of a small white bread, turn it into a small ball, and try to keep it under your tongue about 5 minutes. So at the beginning, you will feel nothing. It's tasteless. It doesn't have any taste. But after like 2 to 3 minutes, you will feel, wow, a kind of sweetness comes from there. Because my saliva went into there, and the saliva is converting the starch which is in this white bread into a sucrose by an enzyme called tyline, or we call it as salivary amylase. So you don't need any sambal or dal, curry, something to eat your bread. You can just keep it under your tongue. No, that's not fair. It's just kidding. But the starch, which is a polysaccharide, will be turning into a disaccharide by the action of the saliva. Saliva could turn out the starch or the larger polysaccharide molecules into disaccharide molecules there. Alright, got it? Cool. Let's see what's the workout of the saliva in here. So you could see how does the extreme possibilities occurs in there, and these are the salivary glands which are like 2 in the top. So this converts starch in the food into sugars, and it of course softens the food. It is already softening the food. Let's look at the workout of the tongue. Tongue is extremely important for our vocal cords, our speaking capabilities, as well as helping for the digestion. If you are not having a proper long tongue, it's very hard to do the digestion inside the buccal cavity. Right? It should be very healthy, and remember, tongue is the most quickest healing organ in our body. We will have lots of scratches and lots of problems with the tongue, but it will heal so quickly. Ladies and gentlemen, look at the esophagus. This is the tube that I was talking about. This is our dearest epiglottis. Thank you, epiglottis, for your workouts. Alrighty, and then it moves through the peristaltic movements. Look at the peristaltic movements, and we are covering with the liver right now. That's the largest organ in our body, and just dipped down the food into the digestive stomach, and you could see hydrochloric acid is releasing into the food. Alright, now we are going to learn about our bubble that we think most of the digestion occurs. That's called stomach. But most of the digestion never occurs in our stomach, darling. It's converting some proteins into polypeptides, and sometimes it secretes lots of hydrochloric acid and helping to turn over the larger molecules into smaller. So you could see the releasing of hydrochloric acid is accommodating the larger molecules have been broken down into smaller molecules, and then go for the chemical procedure which is occurring in the next part from this sphincter. Alright. Okay, so let's see how does the food is moving to a larger part in here. There's a curve. All right, there's a curve. From the curve, it moves to the small intestine. Small intestine have 3 parts. uh, duodenum, jejunum and ileum. Now this is a curvy part where it connects with the pancreas and the liver. Alright, liver is a larger organ, and this is the injection, this is the gallbladder, and this is our liver, kind of a larger organ inside our body. It's kind of a huge, and it's responsible to produce not much digestive juices, but the bladder and the gallbladder is extremely helping to generate liveric digestive juices. And ladies and gentlemen, this is called pancreas. It's generating nearly 5 enzymes which are releasing in the duodenum, right? So remember, in our liver they are generating bile. That's a digestive enzyme, a kind of accommodated digestive enzyme. Pancreas are generating pancreatic juices which are directly sending to the small intestine. You could see now the food particles are moving inside the small intestine, and inside the small intestine there's finger-like projections called villi. These finger-like projections are helping to consume the digestive parts in there. Now let's see how does the important digestive parts are absorbed into our small intestine. So we are moving inside to the small intestine. These are the finger-like structures, we call them as villi. These particles inside of villi, they have capillaries of small blood capillaries will be absorbing. So let's say inside of a villi, and these are the small capillaries in the blood which are absorbing these nutritional materials to the blood circulatory system. So then the blood circulatory system takes these nutrients away and helping up themselves to produce ATP and other types of energies inside their body, ladies and gentlemen. It's a very complicated procedure. So in the small intestine wall, it has these kind of a brushy like ciliated epithelial villi, and they are digesting them up. So then let's see what happened to the undigested stuff in moves to the large intestine, obviously, and that is the large intestine, the starting point of the large intestine, right? And then of course the food is moving in the large intestine, it absorbs lots of water from the undigested food, and later on it goes then stored in our rectum until that we have opportunity to release it down. So we got the opportunity to release it down, and it moves through the rectum away. All right, and I just needed to show you something. I just needed to show you something in here. This is the workout. All right, hold on. There you go, the food particles, the nutritionals are adding up with this plasma in the blood, and then of course it moves towards the cellular structures to do the cellular respiration and produce necessary ATP energy by converting the chemical energy. The thing that just I wanted to show you was that in the large intestine, no nutritional absorption is occurring, only the water absorption is occurred. And there's a specific organella that I need to show you, this guy called appendix. Are you biting your nails? Are you eating the crack of these prawns? When you're eating in your rice, if you feel some stones there, are you swallowing it? Oops, don't do that. If you have done it, what will happen? Your nail particles will be storing in this appendix because of the gravity. Your prawn and the crab particles, maybe the things that you ate with the rice, maybe the unnecessary sand can be stored in this appendix. And day by day, the appendix becomes much more bigger and becomes some sort of a sac. The undigested food will comes in a larger tract, and it won't be go to here from the small intestine. Instead of that, it will be pushed into your appendix, and your appendix become a larger centered balloon, and you will have a pain like hell. You will have a pain like, oh my goodness, I cannot bear it, and you will have a severe pain. All right, and then what will happen? You need to cut this thing down by doing an operation. That's really risky, so do not bite your nails. Alrighty, so let's move on. On the part here, most of the undigested food will be packed. CBL sometimes turns into semi-solid materials if you're not drinking much water. Then if you're drinking much water, if you're eating lots of fibrous food, no problem happens while you're releasing these. All right. Okay, so this is the general systematic things that we have to be discussed with the human digestive system. All right, then see you all in another video. Take care.